Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Board of Selectmen is called to order at September 12th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Have a motion to approve the August 22nd, 2024 minutes.
So moved?
Second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor? 5-0. Public forum, this is an opportunity for anyone who wants to address the Board of Selectmen with any issue that is not on the agenda. I see no hands. What about the Zoom?
No hands raised on Zoom.
No hands, okay.
So I just was going to ask the board to have Chief Simeone come up. We had an incident on Saturday night on the intersection of Dyke Road and Route 9. And so I'm asking Chief to just share a little bit of the video with you and explain what happened so you're aware.
So you may or may not be aware from, recent news that we've been having a series of what's been called street takeovers. They've been appearing in Scarborough, Western Maine. They've been up in, I believe, Bangor at this point. So Saturday night we were hit locally. We had one here in Kennebunkport. Biddeford had one. They had one in Lyman.
Were these the same people?
Yeah, some of them may have been the same people, but certainly it's a coordinated effort on their part because they would go to one community and maybe part of that group went to another community simultaneously. But we did get hit Saturday night with this. Officer McGuire was dispatched to this. This is the actual dash cam video from her cruiser. Dave, you want to play that? So she was dispatched to a report of several vehicles making a lot of noise down at the intersection. So she didn't know quite what she had. And you'll see how quickly this kind of develops. So what you're seeing, you'll see vehicles parked on both sides of the road. And she's calling this in right now. That light that you see flashing off to the right-hand side is a laser that one of these attendees is pointing inside the cruiser. So she's on the PA right now telling people to leave. Can you turn the volume up, Dave?
So we are being filmed and they're starting to surround my cruiser.
So this individual was probably likely trying to take the license plate off the cruiser. At this point, Officer McGuire is calling for more help. So you can see how bold they are, stopping the cruiser. They're all wearing masks. They're videotaping it. He's actually laying on the hood of the cruiser right now.
Sarge, I need more units.
So at this point, dispatch is calling everybody around us, Kennebunk, York County Sheriff's Department, State Police, Biddeford, asking for more units. Officer McGuire thought there was 100+ people here at this point.
Wow.
So the smoke that we saw before with the donuts?
It is. So this whole time you can hear the engine racing. There's a car in the intersection actually doing donuts. And you'll see the tail lights on occasion kind of whipping around in a circle. And you'll see how quickly the mob mentality will take place. So she's in her cruiser right now. She cannot back up because she's actually blocked in.
They ever blocked in?
They have her blocked in. She cannot leave. So we don't have facial recognition, but I can get into what we're doing after you folks have a chance to watch a video.
Yeah, just waiting for you.
Yes. Yep. And you'll actually see the crowd advance on the cruiser here.
Get in your car! Get in your car!
So one of these individuals actually next to the window said she's by herself, we can take her.
Really?
So Haley's locked herself in the car at this point. And now you can see everybody else starting to show up. It's a water gun.
I've got,
So now they're gonna start chanting.
sir, I'm also blocked in by, citizens.
So you can see how quickly this develops. Officer McGuire is still waiting on help to get there. Sergeant Hafner was on the other side of town, down in Dock Square. He's responding as quick as he can. Kennebunkport has units en route.
I've got regular citizens in cars behind me. I can't move.
So now this is where you'll see him start to dissipate and start taking off.
See the other cruiser coming?
The other cruisers actually won't even make it here before they all take off. So this is pretty well it, Dave. At this point, Officer McGuire is running all the plate numbers that she's able to. As you imagine, it's overwhelming. She's got all these cars leaving, and she's just trying to, rattle off these plate numbers so that we have them recorded.
So she's saying Massachusetts place.
Yes.
They're starting to clear out now.
Some of them maybe, but we know that at least some of them are in their 20s at this point that we've identified.
They're going in every direction
And you can
now.
see the
Those are
rubber
only
marks in the
plates I could
intersection there.
grab.
You can see all the ones parked on the Biddeford side of the intersection.
Yeah, I'm all right.
That's like where
It is that those vehicles are pulling off of.
they're coming out of Dyke Creek.
10-4, you're gonna hit a lot of them. Kidport, I'm gonna
So
try
then
to
they went
rattle
to
off a
another
few more
town
plates
after they
for
left
you,
here?
just so that
Yes,
they're
yeah, they had been in Biddeford a little bit earlier, and from here, they actually went next door to my house in Lyman, did the same thing down at Jackson's Corner. I didn't include that video, but that one was pretty dramatic too. They were actually lighting off fireworks next to the two gas stations.
Oh, wow.
So not only did you have the concern about, the driving and the safety with the pedestrians that were watching it, but they were also lighting off full-size fireworks next to both gas stations.
So you could.
You can stop it, Dave.
3, you could slow down.
So what do we know right now? We know it was a coordinated effort. We had the chance to interview some juveniles that were left behind at the Lyman incident. Their driver actually took off on them, left them there. So, so Officer McGuire had the chance to go out and interview them. We definitely found out it's a coordinated effort, started with a text chain. There's a couple local groups that are involved, one in New Hampshire, one in Maine. And these are.
Is there a name?
Is there a name? Yep. So 603 Cipher Boys and 207 Smoke Boys. So those are the two organized groups that are engaging in this. We've identified at least several of the people that were involved in our town. We'll be following up with them. Like anything, this gets put on social media. With the license plates that we have run, we're able to chase some of that back and identify some of them. And it doesn't take too long before we'll have a list of them. And then when we start interviewing them, we'll chase them further back to see who else was there, may have been there, and then we'll charge everybody that we can.
So what kind of a charge will they would they anticipate?
Disturbing the peace?
Yep, so we certainly had obstructing a public way, driving to endanger, and we even have obstructing government administration at some points in that because, there were comments made that, oh, she's by herself, we can take her. So we have that and a laundry list of traffic violations too.
So since it's across different towns and stuff, will the state police get involved too? So for example, Alan, we were talking about it, and Alan had made the comment about where that is. There's only so many exits out of that area. They were basically trapped. Is there any future concerns or future things being looked at to being able to control this or get there to help an officer in need like that?
Yes, there is. Yep. So without speaking to it a whole detail, But we do have an agency that's looking at this. We're gonna monitor for, obviously, chatter on this because it's an organized event. As you can imagine, I mean, you could see the number of people there. The issue that we have is not having enough officers in a, you know, reasonably close location that you can get there quick enough to shut that down. So what that'll have to be is perhaps a night that they're anticipated to be out again, and we have information, you know, some intelligence on that, then we can, you know, reach out to the area departments and we can coordinate a response. And it'll mean that, you know, area departments will probably have to staff heavy, have extra people on, and then, you know, be ready to respond. And then at that point, we would shut that location down so that, you know, bystanders can't get in there, and we don't have other motoring public coming in, and we would shut it down and deal with that group as a whole. But it's just gonna take a lot of resources to do it.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to the officer. I mean, she really handled herself very well. I mean, that was pretty scary to watch, very scary.
Yeah, it was. But just, you know, wanted to show this just so you folks understand how rapidly something develops and, you know, how quickly you can realize that you don't have control of a situation, you know, and the amount of time it takes to get other resources there to kind of help you deal with it. So, and even on that night, we would have been lucky probably to put a dozen other officers there from other agencies to help us with that, which still wouldn't have been enough, you know, for a party of that size, so.
It looks like they were there for quite a while before somebody called.
It's hard to say. We only, believe it or not, received one phone call on that.
Oh, wow.
So it's hard to say how long they were there before we received the phone call, but
And what time was it?
it was about 25 past midnight.
Midnight, that's why I only went.
David, where were you? You're always driving around.
I was chasing,
I was gonna say, where was David and the dog?
I think it's important to remember that we do have officers by themselves on duty at times in Kennebunkport because we do not have the staffing. So even though we had someone else on, they were in another part of town, but at least they were on their way. My concern is what would have happened if they decided to start smashing the windows and pulling her out. And so,
Stepped on the gas.
Well, they blocked, well, they were
That's what I
blocking
would
her
have
in.
done.
so
That's the
I,
Sheila response, yes, yes, yes.
Well,
So
if they're
duly
trying to
noted.
get into my car,
yeah,
I'd have been out of there very quickly.
yeah.
Well, I think when, you know, we were talking about, just, you know, thinking through after we got the text from Lori and stuff, you know, my fear is, as always with these types of things, there's escalation. You know, so right now, they're walking up very boldly to police cruisers, threatening, and so then who, you know, what person of not right mind starts the escalation process? And to Lori's point, I mean, this was already scary enough. So is there anything we're doing in the short term to protect our officers? Or we're just not deep enough to?
Yeah, so like anything else, you know, we always look at situations like this and evaluate how we respond to it, and then we talk about maybe what we could do differently. You know, Officer McGuire didn't know exactly what she was driving up on. That's a scary part. Certainly the next best step would have been to back out of there and wait for help, but she couldn't. She was
Yeah.
physically blocked in.
Yeah.
But, you know, from that point, she did the next best thing, which was to stay in the car and wait for help, because I think getting out of the car would have escalated it. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, that was the right thing she did,
yep.
yeah.
It sounds to me, it looks to me like she handled herself very well.
Yeah,
She did, yes, yep.
yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Oh, my God.
Okay,
Yeah, scary.
4, Pat Briggs is going to deliver a status update on the Heritage Housing Trust. Hi, Pat. Now you're up.
I don't think I can top what the chief just went through.
No, I know.
This is a different
no drama.
subject. Yeah, I'm here, and with Tom McLean. Tom is the president of the Kennebunkport Heritage Housing Trust at this time, because I am semi-retired, or what am I? Something like that. So we put together an information document that I wanted to share with everybody here. And I thought I'd read it to you. Can anybody hear me? Are we good at home? All right, okay. So dear members of the Kennebunkport Select Board, approximately 6 years ago, while I was serving as a selectman, we recognized a growing concern. Kennebunkport was on the verge of becoming a seasonal-only community. The increasing cost of homes was pricing out our workforce, young families, and long-term residents. In response, the Select Board commissioned a housing needs assessment, which confirmed that housing affordability had become a critical issue. Desiring a vibrant, year-round community with strong schools, local employees, and intergenerational neighborhoods, the Select Board established a housing committee to explore solutions. The committee's recommendation was to create a housing trust, a proven model for addressing housing challenges both in Maine and across the nation. With your support, the Kennebunkport Heritage Housing Trust, or KHHT as it's known, was born. Since then, KHHT has worked diligently to fulfill the vision set forth by the Select Board. We have established an organization from the ground up, ensuring compliance with state, federal housing laws, raising funds, and embarking on housing development. Thanks to the Select Board's support, our first project, the Heritage Woods subdivision on Main Street, has brought new life to the community, providing homes for local business owners, workforce members, veterans, and young families with children attending the consolidated school. Your continued support made possible a second project, 6 more homes at the Beechwood parcel. We are proud of the progress made and excited about the potential of this new development, which will offer a diverse mix of housing options for seniors, young professionals, and families alike. We thank you for your generosity in providing these town-owned parcels, which have been essential in making these projects a reality. The Housing Trust Board and supporters have worked tirelessly, driven by our commitment to Kennebunkport's future. However, the challenges of finding affordable land and securing sufficient funds have become more apparent. As other housing trusts throughout the state and nation demonstrate, success often relies on support from larger populations. This reality has led KHHT trustees to carefully, deliberate our next steps. So today, I'm sharing with you our plan to expand the Trust's mission to include the neighboring towns of Kennebunk and Arundel, while remaining firmly committed to our roots in Kennebunkport. Land in our town is increasingly scarce and expensive, making it difficult to sustain our efforts here alone. By broadening our reach, we can continue to build affordable homes for working families, seniors, and others who contribute to the social fabric of our community. To reflect this new focus, we are changing our name to Neighborhood Housing Trust, a name that reflects our ongoing mission while embracing the broader region we now serve. As the Select Board was visionary in establishing this trust, we wanted you to be the first to know of this decision. We remain committed to identifying land opportunities in Kennebunkport and seek to work closely with you in finding innovative ways to meet the town's housing needs. So together, we can ensure that the Kennebunkport remains a vibrant, year-round community that we all cherish, while extending our successful model of affordable housing to neighboring towns. We hope you understand the necessity of this expansion and continue to support our work by identifying town-owned or donated land and partnering with us to explore sustainable funding options. We are confident that with your ongoing leadership, we can preserve the special character of Kennebunkport by ensuring it remains home to the people who make it so unique. As President George H.W. Bush once said, Kennebunkport is his anchor to the windward. In a changing and challenging world, our town remains a place where people are connected, engaged, and grounded. The strength of Kennebunkport lies in its people, the fishermen, teachers, business owners, and families who have woven themselves into the fabric of this remarkable community. Now, I'd like to add some other comments. I want to leave you with one more thought. We are seeing a rapidly growing interest in the world of affordable housing in recent months. So this will open up new opportunities for housing trusts like ours. What is the best way for us to take advantage of this growing trend? And I'm reminded of comments made by a famous Air Force four-star general serving at the Pentagon when I was there, who said, when opportunity comes knocking at your door, you can't say, hold on, I gotta pack my bags. We have learned that we must always plan ahead in order to be ready for the changes we see coming in our world. So thank you for your time, your continued partnership in this important work. And Tom and I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Pat, I think that's a wonderful thing you're doing by expanding a little bit into the neighboring towns. I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And I wish you guys all luck in the world.
It's not a done deal, you know, it's got to be proven. But we see the need and the opportunity, so that's why we're doing it. Yes, Shirley.
How will you then choose the families to then go into the houses?
We have ways of doing that. Without getting into the weeds, the process of applying, and we can set criteria that make us able to do that. It's not that we're going to invite the world to move in.
So, but if it's built in Kennebunk, will you choose from Kennebunk people and Arundel from Arundel people? I don't.
I don't think we're that, you know, we're not that far down the road.
Okay.
But Pat, it's not the way it's done today. So even when we are Kennebunkport, there is just, and it's only now, I think we might have a small percentage that would be for local. But otherwise, the vast majority is available to anyone who is
Yeah.
coming. Anyone who can meet the criteria, and I would imagine it would remain the same.
Oh, yes,
For the future.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because when Larissa was here talking to us about that very point, we had asked about how many people worked in town and stuff, and she said that because they're following the HUD guidelines, it has to be fair, open housing.
Yeah.
You know, there can't be anything of, you don't live here to begin with, you know, that type of thing.
That's
Or
true.
work here,
That's true.
so.
Well, you know, we have major constraints put on by the state housing board, and we're aimed at the local average income in York County, and we can't change that.
Right.
Yeah.
Can we get land that we don't have to pay for? Yes, but these people will have to qualify for mortgages, and they pay 3/4 of the cost of every house. So we're not giving away houses. But in order to bring the price of the house down to where they can qualify for the home, we need donations, we need land, we need to have it all come together. And we aim to diversify as much as possible. We're mindful of the fact that we're not serving everybody, and we've got other areas that we need to work with. So
Well,
that's,
I give you a lot of credit. This is quite an endeavor.
oh, God. I never envisioned it.
I know, Pat.
I
And
think,
we can't let you give up. We can't let you give it up.
Well, I hope not. My God, you know.
I think it's a great move, Pat. I think it's to his point, we want to serve the town of Kennebunkport, but we also we share a school department, we share a school system. You know, the three towns are kind of one in some ways, and the land costs and some of the other infrastructure costs may be cheaper in Kennebunk and Kennebunkport and Arundel, which would allow the group, the new Neighborhood Housing Trust, to expand beyond it and still serve people in Kennebunkport. But unfortunately, as he said, our land costs are just so high, and we have a lot of ledge issues, and we have a lot of infrastructure issues that impact the ability to make these homes affordable for first-time home buyers or whoever. And some of the other towns have cheaper land, if you will. So I think expanding it also gives a broader base of people to apply and people to support it.
Well, I think the more people understand about how we're structured and how we function, they'll appreciate what we bring to the town, because we bring families that have good credit, their work, they participate, they pay taxes. But we have to find a way to get them in here so they meet the area income average.
Right.
And that is hard to do.
Yeah.
But it can be done.
Can be done.
It can be done. So we don't have anyone that's saying, hey, let me send you, a big check and we'll take care of some of this.
Oh.
He didn't make the meeting this night, or she didn't. Depends, Anyway, that's sort of an overview of where we're going and why we're going. So we want to continue to work with you. I mean, we're not leaving Kennebunkport. I don't want anybody to think that. But in order to be able to address needs that we might not know at this time, we got to be prepared.
Yeah.
We're a business, and we got to have, good business structure and planning. We can't say, all right, what are we going to do next year? Well, let's build a few houses over here. Okay, you lose people. People will say, why am I helping you? Because you're not continuing to do things. This is what we're trying to do.
Good job.
Good
Thank
job.
you.
Thanks,
Thank you
Pat.
for your time. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Pat.
you.
Thanks, Pat.
Thank you, Pat.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Since I got Tom here, he didn't get to talk.
Okay, Eric LaBelle is going to give us an overview of the wastewater incident from July 2024 and recommended policy and procedures.
Yes. Thank you for having me. As I'm sure it's not forgotten by anybody at this point, that on July 4th, or right about that time, we had quite an upset at the treatment plant. It was noticed that we began to get odors about that time, and also the color of our influent began to change colors. And shortly thereafter, our whole treatment plant actually ended up having a terrible upset, and what we would describe as a die-off. That means our microorganisms at the time basically died off, and literally the color of our plant went from brown to black at that time. We recognize that as having lost. We brought the DEP in, and also lots of colleagues from the field, wastewater field specifically, and to help assess and just try to give us some advice as to if they've seen it. And most of them, actually, quite frankly, it was more more dramatic than most people had ever seen in their career. So that was supported by the DP as well. This happened over the holiday weekend, of course, as it would. By the following Wednesday, we began to see the treatment plant as recommended by the DEP and others, and we began to do that, and we continue to do that from approximately July 10th until July 26th. We continue to seed the plant. So we're going to other plants such as Sanford and Biddeford, and basically taking their activated sludge, which is basically their microorganisms that are alive, and bring them into our plant. And in an effort to really flush out, not to flush out is probably not the right term, because the treatment plant is constantly flushing itself out. What comes in goes out. We had wasted a lot of those microorganisms as we could, and we held on to those. We didn't dare dewater them, because the byproduct of that is when we dewater them, we may take the organics out, but a lot of what the centrate, we call the centrate, which is the thinner, the
We're
water.
starting to get a little,
Sorry, too much, too technical. Sorry, all right, sorry, my apologies.
Glazing.
All right. So, so just, by roughly July 22nd, we began to turn things around consistently, and then we're back on our feet. After that, we've not seen any incidents since then.
Did you ever figure out why it happened?
Well, best of our knowledge, something came in through the plant, through our collection system, and that was toxic. Specifically toxic to our higher life forms, the more mature bugs, microorganisms, and they're the ones that do all the lifting. They're the ones that do all the work. You might have some younger life forms in there, but they really take time to mature, 10 to 12 days or so to mature. But you also need a cross section of those that usually takes 2 to 3 life cycles, which are 10 to 12 days for them to repopulate. Our effort was to really just get that done as quickly as possible and bring in everybody else's bugs in, and just try to accelerate that process, which I would say it did work over time. We just didn't know when and how well it was. You know, we were kind of, things were going up and down for that period of time, and all of a sudden we're back and operating as we would be normally. It was almost overnight.
That was a huge job
Yeah,
for
it
you
was.
guys.
Yeah, I mean, it was uncharted territory for us. Let's put it that way. For most everybody that looked at that.
Wow.
So lessons learned. So I just want to walk you through, and I won't get into the details as to the systems and the things that we have here. I think many of you have toured the plant. You've seen the operation and what's involved in that operation. But we did say some of the lessons learned is that we probably need to do more public education. I like to think that there was nothing nefarious that was done at that time. However, putting anything in the sewer, which everybody has an access point to our collection system, that is on the sewer, that they not place anything there that is not ingested or excreted. And laundry, anything beyond that, chemicals should not be going into that. That's also pharmaceuticals and things. It's not that it would cause us that kind of an upset, but it just doesn't belong in our system. Our system is a biological system. We do not break down chemicals. So that's important for people to note. If it's not organic, it really doesn't belong in our treatment system. So that's the educational component that we should be doing. I like, we reinforce that over and over again, but once again, I think it's probably a constant effort that we need to keep going on. On just data analysis, I mean, we want to take advantage of this also, trying to refine and improve our data gathering. Currently, with our DO meters, we check dissolved oxygen and things like that. But dissolved oxygen is an indication of how much oxygen are our microorganisms taking up. They breathe just like we do. They basically take in oxygen when they're very active. So we'll drop the dissolved oxygen levels in our waters, and when they're not active, actually our dissolved oxygen levels go up. And so it's something to monitor that. pH monitor is something that one of the other utilities that I've been in contact with in central Maine, that said when they had a major die-off similar to ours, that they decided to do that, but they did have some industry in their system, and they were trying to figure out, and they thought it might have been a dry cleaner or something of a like that was dumped. Happened to them 3 times in 1 month, if you can imagine. That's pretty miserable. So they did pH monitoring. So we're proposing possibly just doing that. Just another indication, we do check pH every day. We did not see any pH issues when we were doing this, but we do it just once a day when we do our labs every day. Daily micrology, that is really just a fancy name for taking a look at our aeration tanks and take a look at those bugs and put them under the microscope and take a look at them, see what's there. We can identify what kind of microorganisms we have swimming around, and we're always looking for certain types of microorganisms to be there. That's just something we need to do, that we're doing currently every day. So
You are already doing that every day?
yeah,
That's not new?
Yeah, I mean, we've, typically it's not something we're concerned about. We can kind of tell if the plant is running well, but that's something that we want to be implementing and monitoring.
But you notice it's an addition to your standard procedure, so
It is. I mean, it's not that we.
I think the consistency of daily.
Just doing it every day.
just standardize it, so it's done
Yeah,
every
just
day.
we
Checked
bring the
off.
samples and we're there. We have them on the countertops.
Good.
Take a drop on the microscope. It's not a big lift for us to be doing that, but also it could be a very good indication.
Standardize it.
Yeah. Long-term data trending, that really gets back to, we talked about oxygen trending, things like that. We have a SCADA system. We're doing a SCADA upgrade right now. We have actually ordered the equipment to upgrade the current system that we have. We had some issues with the other ones. But we want to just monitor basically what we call dissolved oxygen trends. And we'll just see the trends overnight. So it tells us overnight when we're not there, what's the treatment plant doing? It tells us the activity levels, what's happening in the morning when everybody wakes up. And just to follow our activity levels in that fashion. And also OARP, which is just a fancy name for oxidation reduction potential. It's just how efficient are we it's an efficiency component that we monitor as well. The specific oxygen uptake, that is once again fine-tuning the process control that we have, and being able to just monitor that and make fine adjustments to the treatment plant's aeration and thing as such. Mean cell residency time, that is a measure of how much we waste. So we talk about in a treatment plant, we're always feeding the bugs that are in our system. We spin them around, we send them back. They fall in the clarifier, we send them back to our aeration tanks to feed the bugs and keep feeding the bugs. But also, when they get to be 10, 12 days old, which we have a way of measuring that in the process, we want to waste those off. And that is just, the mean cell residency time just basically tells us how many days has it been there, what's your target, is it 10, 11, 12 days? And we take a running average, and then we waste off accordingly. And that's just, once again, fine-tuning, putting a finer point on what we're currently doing. Force main cleaning, that is something we do, not as frequently. The 3 pump stations that we've just installed we have the methods of cleaning those force mains. Those are our major force mains, if you will. So Cape Porpoise, Patty Creek, and Wells District Road, all 3 of them are now, we have hatches that we can open up, put what we call a pig, and it's basically just a plug that we put in there, and then we force that plug through. Any solids that get trapped in the force main are then pushed out. So that will help with some really, I talked a little bit about things going septic sometimes because like Goose Rock's Beach is so far away that sometimes the sewage stays there so long that it can begin to go septic. We currently add what's called calcium nitrate in that location. Then that's food. So basically we're trying to keep our sewage active over there. We don't want it to go, basically lose this dissolved oxygen and go septic.
So Eric, earlier on, that was maybe one of the theories. Is that still a theory of what could have went wrong? Because we were so drought and then the big season hit? And,
Well, is
it just off the list now?
We were getting 300 to 350 gallons a minute. What happens is at night it will drop down to 50 to 100 gallons per minute. And first thing in the morning, we ramp right up to 300 to 350 gallons a minute. And that's a long enough time because also we have a very, very 12,000 foot long force main. We have a lot of stored sewage in the system that just isn't moving very quickly. That's a reason for giving us orders? Yes. That it will give us orders because if it does go septic, that's when we begin to have those orders. There's one change that we might be making there. That was recommended to possibly go in hydroxide which is a pH adjustment instead of doing food. But I won't get into too much of those details. But we're monitoring that, trying to figure out how to help ourselves the best we can so we don't get those orders. I'm more concerned about the order issues. It doesn't cause us an issue with the plant per se. Once it reaches our plant, we begin to aerate everything. That's why we don't get the orders at the plant. So that's why we re-oxygenate.
We don't think, I think earlier on, there was the chatter that maybe something in the line stayed too long and got septic, and that was pushed through.
Septic would cause us an order, but not necessarily something, not death like
Got
this.
it. Yeah, want to create the doubt.
Yep. There we go. I'm sorry. That was the next bullet there. Modifying chemical feed at the Goose Rocks pump station, which is what I talked about. Was basically, we're just concerned about hydrogen sulfide. It's kind of eats away at our concrete and things like that. We just try to. That's not good for our system. Just structurally, we don't like to have hydrogen sulfide build up in those locations. Bioaugmentation is one of the things. It's basically dried bugs, if you will. We did use it as part of this process. We weren't really sure how much of that was really good, but we still have some on hand. We're probably going to experiment a little bit next year and actually try to do a little bioaugmentation just prior to our peak season, just to try to get our bugs built up first. But that's more, once again, it's more of a fine tuning. It's also a tool in our toolbox. In the future, should something happen like this, we'll have product on hand to begin to do this immediately. These bugs do take a while to activate. That's the only thing. They do take 10 to 15 days to activate. But nonetheless, we were using every tool in our toolbox to get this turned around. Polymer use. Polymer is usually, polymer is just basically a little bit of glue that we put in our system. When things are not settling well, Sometimes if you get nitrification or denitrification or partial nitrification, which then, just as you imagine, something that decomposes will float up to the surface. It will create nitrogen as it decomposes, and then it will float. I don't want to use any, sad stories of things
Yeah,
like that.
we're good.
Yeah,
We're good.
okay. But that's also happens in our system. So sometimes what we'll utilize at that time is we'll try to get that to flock together a little bit better. We'll add a little polymer. Sometimes we'll pull those products together. We can spray it down, knock them down. It's just a tool, another tool in the toolbox. And then the upgrades that we're talking about, we're also doing plant upgrades right now. Talked about the replacement. So the anoxic mixers are going to be, the bridges are going in 2 weeks from now. They're being fabricated as we speak. Following that, we'll be putting in new mixers in the anoxic zones. Upgrade to the pump stations, those are complete right now. Those are fully installed. The centrifuges and polymer system, we have one polymer up and running 100% right now. The second centrifuge is now going in right now. They're putting those pieces together. Those should be complete. As a matter of fact, they're going to begin closing our building prior to winter. Clarifier upgrades have been completed. Our SCADA upgrades are ongoing. The SCADA, if you all recall, it's the brain that kind of manages our PLCs, that they're the brains that basically operate and automate all our systems in the treatment plant, as well as collect data from our pump stations. The control panels, which is where the PLCs are, it's really connected to the SCADA in a lot of ways. Some of them are legacy pieces where if they go down, we will be turning valves manually. I think I've talked about that probably at length, about our concerns about those, because those are critical pieces of equipment that automate our systems. And then developing an operations and O&M plan. We have funding for that right now. We're on hold right now until I can get those pieces, those mechanical pieces in place, so those can be incorporated in our O&M plan. We do have a lot of investments going in right now. I just wanted to make sure it was complete. So that'll be the next step. So a lot of this is optimizing our treatment plant. Whether, I can't speak to how we can defend from something that comes into our treatment plant like this. So I want to be clear about that, but we certainly want to be, we certainly have sharper eyes on this going forward. And if there's anything we can see or something partial happens, at least if we're optimized in the way that we're doing our work, then hopefully we can prevent or lessen the impact of this.
So Eric, you said that we're going to have some, I think you said we're going to have some bugs on hand beyond the dehydrated bugs.
Yeah.
We're going to have like a...
In the future, if this was to happen again, I would be feeding immediately. So the nexus here would have been a day or two in our particular scenario.
Yeah.
Of course, it's happening over a long weekend.
Right.
I've got to get trucks lined up.
Right.
And I've got to get them cycling for us.
Okay, so we still would rely on other towns. Well, I didn't know if we were having like our own little separate bug farm.
A frozen
I didn't know what he was getting at. I didn't know if we were having a bug farm.
We could prepare.
Well, I didn't know if that was part of your swimming in a toilet process.
We can augment how much bugs we have on hand, we can manage that, but we plan for that, right? We know when our big seasons are coming.
Right.
So we bring on more tankage, we build the bugs up in those,
Build the
yes, we
bugs
do
up.
that.
Get them hungry.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want them too hungry, but,
Yeah.
so, but it's a balancing act, yeah. But in a circumstance like this, if we were devoid of bugs or, did not have enough, it's no cost to us. Other treatment plants don't charge us to take because it means their biosolids, they don't have to dewater
Right.
effectively.
Right.
When we're taking their bugs, they're not having to dewater them. There's actually a little bit of a savings to them. We did get charged for getting rid of our waste, however. Our solids that we had grabbed onto immediately after the process, after the dive, we were reluctant to put that
Back into ours.
back into our system, which was part of the process. If it was toxic, we were very reluctant to do that. So they did. So other treatment plants were able to take some of that for us and did charge us for that.
Yep.
So everything's back to normal.
Oh yeah, we're
Awesome.
running well. Yes.
Good
Yeah.
job.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
thank you.
Excellent.
Excellent, thank you.
Have any questions? All set.
Yeah,
So we
thank you.
also have good news about staffing.
Oh,
Yeah, as far as operations manager
And an operator?
and an operator, yes, we have hired, we've been short on staffing, we've still have a few holes in our organization right now, but, we've been fortunate enough to, we started, Matthew Hunter started this week, with us. Local young man, veteran, and, started with us on Monday. Did not necessarily, came from heavy equipment sales and such, but has good knowledge, good attitude, excited about public service, which is key. So
And he's gonna be a wastewater operator.
yeah, he's going to be our wastewater operator. So grew up with Matt Philbrick, which is another local.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, they're good people.
I don't know if that's a good thing.
Yeah. No, did Matt get in trouble with you? It's possible. So it's, but he came highly recommended. We interviewed him, and he had the right attitude, right skill sets. We'll have to train him up. But
Do you still have any openings in the department, or?
we do not after
you're
this
fully
one.
staffed?
We've hired, well, I don't know if, I never mentioned, we hired a new mechanic as well, as Bill had retired.
Good.
After 27 years or so
Yeah.
with us.
Wow, that's a lot of history.
But we hired Jacob, who's come on board with us. He's doing a terrific job, fantastic skill sets from the private sector. However, his skill sets are perfect for low voltage, high voltage electricity, things like that. He's good. And once again, great attitude. With a good attitude, I think most everything comes pretty easy after that. Curious and very happy about that hire that I hadn't mentioned before. And the last one is our operations manager right now that we're hiring. He's coming on board in 2 weeks, 2 weeks from this last Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So he's joining us from as the chief operator in Portsmouth. So,
Oh, nice. Good,
so
Good
good
news.
hire. So,
good. Congratulations on the team.
thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
That is-
Okay, 6, review by Yanina Nicholas of suggested select board meeting rules. Hello.
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 Hello, everyone. Yanina Nicholas, Director of Support Services. So in your packets, you'll find a Select Board Meeting Rules draft document. So I want to make sure you know this is a draft document, and I will be looking for your suggestions and ideas at the end of this review. So this is a simple document, just 2 pages, nothing fancy, but this document came about after so many meetings we had here, and I think a lot of residents have questions of how something gets on agenda, or how much time do I have to talk, or how does the board make decisions. A lot of it came from my Citizens Academy, as I said, together with these meetings here. So looking around, I believe that many communities have very similar set of rules, either in their ordinances, charter, or just as a separate document. So as you know, we have a town ordinance, and some of the rules are outlined in the town ordinance for the select board meetings. So as example, you will see Article 1.1, regular meetings of the select board. In our ordinance, it says that the select board has to meet twice, but you guys established it's going to be every second and fourth Thursday of the month. So there are certain articles that you can amend, but as you know, ordinance has to go through the residents. So I just want you to be mindful about the ordinance out there. So I'm not going to go through every article out there, but I just want to highlight of the important stuff that I think you should know about. I included. So one of the things I want to point is Article 1.1. Subsection 4, which is the public hearing of any item and or board deliberation and action on any item shall not commence after 10 p.m. I think that's fair to a lot of people, yet you're welcome to change that if you want. Another part I want to talk about is special meetings and workshops. So a lot of times we present some different items to the residents, and as you know, we have special meetings. As example was last week's meeting with Town of Kennebunk. So this article just outlines how we go about those meetings, which is not on the regular schedule. Article 1.3, Meetings and Workshops Agenda, answers the question of how something gets on the agenda. So a lot of times agenda is put together, as you know, by staff, town manager, and you. When a resident reaches out, I always refer a resident to the town manager and the chair of the board, because the chair and town managers are the only people, together with the majority of the board, can decide what goes on the agenda. So it doesn't mean that any item out there can make it on the agenda. It's only by the majority decision or solely chair decision if the chair consults with the town manager. Excuse me. So meeting rules, Article 1.4, talks about how much time does any resident or a person have to speak. General rule of thumb is 3 minutes. And if you think about it, 3 minutes is a long time to talk. And as I said, I looked through so many documents out there, through so many communities, and pretty much everyone uses 3 minutes. This article also says that the resident can speak only once on any given item. It's up to you. You can change that. You can change the time from 3 minutes to higher, lower, wherever you prefer. That's just my recommendation. Also, it's very important to know, and I think sometimes people get confused on bringing up employees' conduct. So anything to do with employees has to do with the town manager, because town manager oversees employees. You as a board oversee town manager, and town manager oversees employees. So it's important to know that if there are any individual who would like to speak about certain employee, they need to approach town manager, because there is a certain human resources set of rules that will be spurred from that conversation. But it is not a matter of discussion at the board meeting. Article 1.5 is straightforward. The majority of select board makes any decision and shall constitute of a quorum. I also added language about being on Zoom. So if somebody is on Zoom, it is as you would consider it as a person can vote, and as if person is here. So that's kind of, obviously, COVID rule. That's a new one. So if the chair is remote on Zoom, and we've been practicing that, then the vice chair becomes a chair of the meeting, but the chair can still vote via Zoom. And at least 3 votes shall pass any item. So this is, as I said, just a simple draft document. I'm happy to take any feedback if you have any questions.
Yeah, I have a question on that last piece, actually. A quorum can be 3 members.
Yes.
Could be present for quorum.
Yeah.
But when it says 3 votes, a minimum of 3 votes, does that mean nothing can be done if there aren't 4 people? So all 3, if there are 3 in a quorum, it has to be unanimous. If it's not
That's my
unanimous,
understanding.
then nothing can pass.
Right.
Yes, that is correct. Because our board is 5 members.
Yeah,
Yeah.
got it, okay.
So I was thinking about the 3 minutes, and
Okay.
I'm okay with having a time limit, but I want to make it like 3 friendly minutes, because there's a lot of people that come in to speak to us, and they're not in areas of their life where they're public speaking, so sometimes it takes people a little bit longer. So I just want to be, I don't want to be timing people. So I don't know how to word it such that it's not like,
I really think that's
Should be a
there, so if
discretion.
somebody who is going on and on and on, you've got something to come back to. I don't think anybody's going to be there with a stopwatch.
It's to the discretion of the board.
Yeah, if somebody's having difficulty. I think it's really there as something we can look to as justification of limiting something that was clearly going too long.
I also would like to add that 3-minute rule is usually for large meetings as well, so you can hear everyone. Because sometimes if somebody goes for a
Yeah.
long time,
no, I'm 100% there. I'm okay. I just wanted to make sure that we were interpreting this, and if there was a way to reword it such that it's, no, I hear you.
I don't know how you can
I hear
reword
you're
it,
like,
though, without making a judgment, I call it.
Well, I
well,
just want to,
well,
I
give
just
me
want
3
to make
minutes.
sure.
Let me get my 3 minutes in.
Yeah, but I just want to make sure that if it's a discussion that needs to be ongoing, because 3 minutes is not enough
Right.
to find out the facts, then I think they should be allowed to speak
Exactly.
So can we
Until we
just
get into
add
the
in
law.
there that it's the 3 minutes, and then with maybe what Alan just said, plus ability with discretion from the board?
Absolutely.
Just so that we
Is there
don't.
no discretion on the board there for that?
There is
Should be, I thought there was, maybe I didn't read that correctly.
so there is, I think, one article,
There was something else
subsections.
that had the discretion of
Yeah.
the board. I
There
don't think
was
it
one.
there with that.
Introduced the.
Well, let's just make sure it's
Let's
there.
make sure it's there. I totally agree with that.
Okay.
I thought it was there.
The board.
So it's number 8. The chair may allow a person to speak again, but only to clarify a point, a shared new or previously unheard point of view. This is not intended as a time for debate. I think it's in a sense of that, but I can definitely reword it
Well,
and,
may speak again
Okay.
or speak longer.
yeah.
So you gotta do is that there.
Yeah,
May
I'm
Speak
happy.
again or speak longer.
Yep, I can do that.
Okay.
And then, are you done? Does that do it?
I'm good, buddy.
All righty.
Okay, do you
I-
have,
I have one more suggestion.
yeah?
I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but since this is a public town, or, it's a town governance body, I would like to add the Pledge of Allegiance to the beginning of the meeting. I'm not sure how our others
good.
feel.
I'm good with that.
Okay,
I
I can-
certainly have no issue with that.
I have no issue with that.
yeah, I can put it under the Article 1.1 as
Okay.
one of the set of the rules that you guys established.
Yeah.
Any other suggestions or something you would want to see in this document?
No, I think it was really good because you cleared up a lot of things that I think people were having, like, how do I get documents in and what's allowed in, and so I think it was very nice.
Thank you.
Are you going to put this on the website, or so the public can see this, so they can
I-
follow this?
Yeah, I think that would be fair, because we would be referring to this document a lot. As I said, when question comes up, how do I put something on agenda, I would refer them to this document. I was hoping to put it under the Board of Selectmen page. And just something to add to this. So this is the first draft document in a series of a few documents that my team is putting together. So Hope Moriwall, who's our communications specialist, is working on communications plan. And also, in addition to that plan, I'm working on a similar set of rules, but for committees. So that document is a little bigger. I think I'm at 12 pages or so, because we have a lot of committees and a lot of rotation of people, and they just don't know how something works sometimes, or how they vote, or when the meetings happen. So I'm working on a similar document for them.
Are you looking to standardize across all committees, or could each committee going to be handled separately?
So I do recognize in that document that we have different set of rules for some committees, because some committees are in our ordinance and they have a little different set of rules. That document that I am working on will be a standard document, and it's going to be simple. It's not going to be a strict set of rules, and it's not going to force them into specific things. It's going to be similar to this document.
Not the 12-page one.
Well, the reason it's 12 pages because
Simple and 12 pages didn't resonate.
the reason
So-
it's 12 pages because I also include code of conduct. You, as a board, have a very code of conduct. You also receive that MMA handbook that I usually pass around. So you have 130 document, I believe. You, David, have it now.
I have it now.
Yeah, so it's a large document, but committees don't necessarily have such document. So that includes code of conduct, and it includes a little more extra policies from our handbook. That's why. But it's going to be simple. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. This is the first step in that process. So we're just all on the same page, and including every resident, and they know how it works, and it's transparent.
So,
I did have one other comment.
Yeah.
Article 1.1, going back, Article 4, or Section 4, we say it shall not commence after 10 p.m. And then we say unless the majority of the board members consent. To me, this sets expectations. I'd rather that say 9 p.m., to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Okay.
I think 3 hours is plenty for a meeting, and then we can always override it.
Sure.
I'd be happy to say 8 p.m., but 9 p.m. is probably a good thing to say.
I'm
But 10
happy
p.m.
to.
to me sets an expectation that a 4-hour meeting is fine.
Yeah.
And I get pretty blurry after a 3-hour meeting.
I hear you.
Yeah, I think putting 9 p.m. just to set expectations would be better there.
Absolutely, I'm
Is
that-
happy to do it.
Eastern or Central?
Certainly not Pacific.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm happy to do it. I will make all of those changes. I will send you the next draft document for your review if you agree on this. We'll probably have to put it on agenda again so you approve it, and then I will post it on the page under Board select board page, and residents will be able to see it.
And if we have any other thoughts, if we go through this again, just to let you know ahead of time. before you
Yeah,
get
and
it.
anytime you will have a suggestion, this is it's a flexible document and things change obviously. So just let town manager know and let me know and we can add it and change it and the board will vote again and we'll go through this again.
Thanks,
Okay.
Anita. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, consider extending the Dock Square parking lot session during Prelude.
No,
Yes.
Yes.
Now let's discuss it.
Let's discuss it.
Would
That's what we're here
So
for.
what is,
said
so what
no?
is this for? Yeah.
I don't,
Oh, it's okay, we understand.
Go ahead.
Yeah, what do you think?
So we had a meeting with the Prelude Committee, and it was brought to our attention that there was a desire for the town to consider charging during, the Prelude weekends. Because what they see is that some people and employees will go there in the morning and then their cars sit all day, and there's not the ability to have visitors access the parking lot. That they'd like to see more visitors have shorter times in the parking area. So from our perspective, we normally close, we're free on Halloween, so we close on the 30th. And during Prelude, and through the winter months, the gates are open and people go in and park. So I did talk to staff about whether we'd have any issues with the equipment in December. The equipment is meant to be outside, it's just we have never operated it in that month. And the challenge is not the cold necessarily, but rain, especially rain with wind and blowing in there, because we don't, all we have is that little awning over the Dock Square restrooms. So I think that the equipment should certainly work depending on the weather. But during the summer months, we do have staff down there. And so the staff help people with various questions and also park them and deal with people's challenges with equipment. And so I would be a little concerned about opening it up for Prelude without some assistance down there. So one of the things I had considered to bring to you is whether you want to open it up during the Prelude weekends for paid parking. And secondly, whether we might offer it to some nonprofits in our community. It's similar to what I have seen in other communities where they might, whether it's, the Rotary or a lacrosse club or whatever you might have, oversees a parking lot for a day or a weekend, and then they monitor it and they get to keep the funds as part of a fundraising effort. So I wanted to bring the two sets of ideas before you. One was to open it during Prelude, and secondly, how we might staff it.
We have the parking lot there when tourists come in the summer. It's, I think, one of the few, other than beach stickers, opportunity for the town to be able to get some revenue from our tourists. Otherwise, it all goes to the state, and we know because of our formula, we get very little of that back. These are tourists coming to our lovely town in December. I believe we ought to have the parking be paid. So I'm all for, you say close it, open it, however you want to say it, but charging for parking in the town lot. I would suggest we would split 50-50, because again, it's revenue to the town. That's quite a bit of revenue, I would think. Maybe I'm wrong. If it's $1.380, then no. But if it's over, several $1,000s, I would think that'd be lovely for a group in town to sponsor it, and we'd split it 50-50 on the revenue, be my suggestion.
Well, I think you're just suggesting letting them do it like one day and keep the revenue for one day? Is that what you just?
Well, I'm suggesting maybe I haven't approached any nonprofits, so manning it for the busy hours of a day during Prelude would be a lot of hours. And so people's capacity to do that for a whole weekend might be challenging. And that's why I was thinking people might want to sign up for a day.
Okay.
And then you share the wealth.
Okay.
But we'd have town costs, but clearly, we're gonna make more than what we would have to pay someone, correct? Yeah.
I think, having been on the KBA, one of the things, if you looked historically at why, how the KBA got started, and it was to give back to the town for all of the inconveniences that they have to endure during the summer. It was a way for the KBA to give back to the town. Now, you know, I may be the only one, but to me, this is not giving back. And the whole philosophy of the Prelude was to include the town, to have the town have a Christmas festival, and, you know, and that's how it started. I don't agree with the charging of people. To me, it's not a part of the KBA philosophy.
So I would say that I think what Sheila says is how Prelude started. But the last couple Preludes, I've talked to many residents that don't go because it's too crowded. It's like summer
And
again.
see, I have a lot of residents who do go.
Yeah, yeah, but there are
Not
people,
everybody's going to.
right, there are people that used to go that now say this is, it. So for some, like when we went to the last tree lighting, it was like, it was almost like going to a summer tree lighting. You know, it's, you know, I sort of stay out of the port a lot in the summertime. And, you know, sort of now I find myself doing the same thing during Prelude. So I think I understand where you're coming from, but then I do think, to John's point, it has transitioned to more of a commercial Prelude. So it's expanded beyond give back to the town. It's now a tourism, another shot of tourism into the town. So I agree with how it started, but I do think it's a shot of tourism right now.
And it is, to your point, it's kind of what's going on at Goose Arch, right? I mean, if people are going there and just parking for the day, it is taking a lot of parking abilities away from people who might just want to come for a couple hours. So if there's a way, whether you want to pay for the whole day or you want to pay for an hour and go in and there's some turnover, it does allow, whether they're town residents or they're tourists coming, it may allow them the ability to at least find a parking spot in town versus you can't park on North Street. I mean, the police will be putting the signs up everywhere and everyone's they park all the way up to Northwood Drive sometimes. I just don't want a situation where that lot is off limits to anybody because someone or employees or whoever is taking it up all day long and they're not leaving. They can find parking other places.
Do we need a motion?
Well, I mean, would the motion be to open it up for?
I don't know, so I'm asking, do we need a motion?
I think we would need a motion, because it's outside the norm of what we
Yeah,
do.
I would make a motion to have the town lot park, or the Dock Square parking be returned to pay parking for the 2 weeks of Prelude.
Can I just say, are you just talking the 2 weekends? Right, so the Monday through Friday, the 2 weekends of Prelude.
2 weekends are really the only time I think you would get a nonprofit to staff it. I think during the week, the traffic isn't enough.
Well, I was hoping the town would staff it during the week.
With who?
Well, I guess somebody, I swim in toilets, I can monitor.
The Board of Selectmen?
Yeah, the Board
One-
of Selectmen,
one day.
5 of us, we
We
have
can
to all take a
rotate,
day.
rotate. You really, it is, but we can't find something. That was my question, given the money that we would make, that we would be able to afford some, but you'd think not.
It's about finding someone to do it, because our summer people who run the lot go away for the winter, and then they come back. And so they're seasonal residents.
How much would we pay somebody to stand in the cold? I don't know, I think we ought to look at it. I think we ought to look at having it for 2 weeks, but I think we ought, let me make a motion that we look at what is possible, but have it open for either the weekends or the full time.
I just want to tell you how I feel about during the week. I feel that the businesses struggle during that time of year, and that having the open parking lot helps bring locals down there. And during the week, when it's not busy, it is nice to have them find parking, so maybe they go shopping or go to the restaurants when it's not crazy.
Can't argue with that.
And I think it's a balance.
Okay, can't argue with that. So let me amend that to have it open for the 2 weekends of Prelude.
And the rest of the week will be open.
Free.
The rest of the
Free.
week will be free. That's why open is kind of you just have it paid parking for the 2 weeks of.
2 weekends.
2 weekends of Prelude. Period.
And are you asking the
The-
town to find somebody for the weekends?
No.
Or you want the non-for-profits in?
I
weekends?
think that's TBD. Lori is gonna look at that, and if we can find a nonprofit, that's great, otherwise the town's gonna have to do it. That we can find too. For the weekend, not? Does it have to be, do we have to have someone else do this?
We just get,
Who is someone else?
we get straws.
Oh, you mean someone else? It's just,
Other
I
than
don't
the
have
town.
seasonal staff in the winter. And it's the first 2 weekends in December, so college kids aren't back. I mean, I'm just saying, December, you notice how in November people leave? So,
I think I
if-
saw a video at the beginning of this thing, it looks like there's a whole bunch of kids that need
Yes.
some jobs.
Yeah, right on. Let me try this one more time. So if we could have it pay parking, assuming that we can locate people to run it for the 2 weekends of Prelude.
I will second that.
I see a 4-1, oh, maybe 3-2. So we ready? Call the vote, chief.
Call the vote, chief.
All in favor? All opposed?
3-2.
go.
There we go.
Motion carries. Okay, okay. I gotta take a breath here. A, accept the $10,000 donation from the Tom McNamara Foundation towards the Parks and Recreation Fund. That's really fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I
That
have
is
to give my
really-
son credit because he's part of the organization, so.
That is really good. That
Make a
is so
motion
good.
to accept the $10,000
Second.
With
I have a
gratitude.
first and a second, all in favor?
With gratitude.
Yep.
with much
Thank you.
gratitude.
Much gratitude
Yep.
indeed.
Thank you.
Other business. David?
I have, the only other business, I had the library board the other night, and I would just say people who might be interested, there's some great programming coming up, and people should look at the website. I understand that some of our town employees are going to be making some presentations to anyone who would like to go to the library to understand how the town works. So stay tuned on that, too. That's all I have.
Beth?
Yeah, I just have 2 suggestions for future agenda items for Lori and you to consider, Ellen. One of them is if Eric could give us an update on the short-term safety things that we talked about on Route 9 and Dyke Road. Specifically, like maybe when the state will do their part of moving that sign. And then just a general, maybe an update schedule or something about the garbage rollout of when we're gonna, just like an overview of, hey, we're gonna start training or communicating, that would be helpful for when we change the cans over. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah, quick thing, I handed out something at the beginning of the meeting to y'all. Mary Beth and I are bringing forward a suggestion from CRC, and this doesn't have to be decided tonight. So if you wish to study this, or if it can be decided tonight, that would be fine. But we had spoken before with the Climate Resiliency Committee that they would look at some tasks that they feel would be relatively short-term, a high impact, and bring those to the board as a suggestion for what they might work on first. So that Mary Beth and I had the meeting yesterday with the folks, and we came up with 2, they came up with 2, and just quickly, it is to review the town ordinances, looking specifically for changes and modifications to the ordinance that would allow folks on existing structures to be able to adapt to what might be an impending danger due to sea level or more rain or whatever might be perceived as a risk. There are things in our ordinance that are preventing them from doing that. Mary Beth had brought up the thought that in the critical edge, residents maybe it would be a good idea to have residents have the ability to do their own tree cutting, to move things back away from the power lines, and not have to plant the same number of trees they cut down, which now I believe the ordinance would have them do, because the trees were the problem. So they're just some common sense things that might be important to look at. And obviously, this would be recommendations. Galen would be involved. They'd come to us before any action was taken. So they're not creating mandates or work, they're rather making suggestions to be able to come to the board and go through the normal process. The second is to look at creating a best practice manual, set of guidelines, education for folks to educate themselves and do ROIs on converting and adopting alternative energy options in their life, be it for their residents or for their business. So those were two pieces that came up. I don't know what the pleasure of the board would be to consider it, talk about it, or if folks feel they are ready to vote on that now. And please, do you have any thoughts to that before?
Yeah, I think, you know, just to, you know, it's really to put the things back to the residents. So if you look at it from a broader perspective, we as a board and the residents have adopted the $400,000 for the resiliency projects. And that's really the, you know, the hardcore structures of town, roads, you know, the river entrances and that type of stuff. So the town is looking at the overarching, what can be done. And I think this climate resiliency committee is now taking it down to the resident level. Is there things that we can do to help the residents shore up their own homes? And that was the first one. And the second one is, what can we do to help residents understand? Because there's a plethora of information out there and people just don't know where to go to. And just like we're doing for potentially the new town hall, looking at different types of energy sources, you know, we can, and Southern Maine Planning and Development Commission, you know, there are avenues out there to put stuff together so that we're envisioning maybe something that there would be a link on the town website. So somebody says, hey, I'm thinking about putting some solar on my house. You know, what's the best practices? My house is X, you know, size. I type in this and I have this much land and blah, blah, blah. And it, you know, do you need land? Do you need, so something that has intelligence that could help versus just links to the web. And we were thinking that we might actually engage the high school kids because they are, you know, to bring this into them and to say, hey, could you help the town put a program together, you know, and, you know, because they are studying this and they're, I think, you know, so we do have some really good tentacles in the town in Southern Maine, you know, and, you know, so I think this is more resident-based, helping residents.
Certainly these two first tasks
Yep.
are that indeed.
So, I mean, I don't have a problem voting on it if everybody else doesn't.
No, I think that I think it's a great idea, John. I think especially being the select board representative to the planning board,
All right.
these are issues that need to be brought to the planning board too, so that there is cohesion between the different groups as to how it would work. But I think these are important issues to deal with.
So, yeah, if somebody wants to make a motion, we'll go for it.
I'm not quite comfortable with it. Cut back trees away from the power line. Doesn't the telephone company already do that?
So-
They're down our street doing it.
So we have, so that's the difference, right? So we have the critical edge where there's not the capability to take trees down, and this is something that the committee would have to work with Galen and otherwhere to see, and the state to see, you know, because of that. So for example, in the storms that we have, just across the street within the critical edge, you have houses and they have the scrub trees, you know? So obviously if there's a nice solid oak, you know, and it's sitting right next to the power line, most likely that tree is never gonna cause a problem. Maybe the acorns will if you walk under it, but it's not gonna really cause a problem. But what's happening, mostly in the critical edge, we have a lot of what we call the scrub trees from the fire. Yeah, from the fire, there's 5 trees that grew up. They're all at more than a 40-year lifespan. They're rotting, and you just can't get the things taken down because of the critical edge requirements. And they're close to the power lines. So we want to just at least look at it and see if there is an option to help this. We just had a power outage. Yeah, it's just an example. We had a power outage this week down at the east end of the beach. A limb was cracked on a tree that's rotted, clearly rotting. And our neighbor called CMP, and they said, okay, we'll come out and look at it 10 to 30 days. Well, we had the wind over the weekend or whatever, and the wind blew the limb on the wire, fire, you know, and we're all conscious of fire. It's sparked and, yeah, and so now they had a, you know, so the limb, they just cleared it up. Some neighbors cleared it up today and the limb is scorched, you know. And so that's, you know, there's some, so we have to start putting in, the goal here is to say, hey, look it, you know, yes, you have a critical edge, but should we also have houses? And the houses need electricity. And now what are we going to lose power and just generate, have everybody start their generators, which has happened. So if we're looking at resiliency, can we start looking at some of these more, maybe some common sense things, and try to infuse some of that into this? That's all we want to sort of look at.
Okay.
I think we're ready for a vote, sir.
Yeah. I'm waiting for a first and a second. I haven't heard it yet.
I'd like to make a motion that the board accept the suggestions of the Climate Resilience Committee for their 2 recommended near-term tasks.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
So
5-0.
these are suggestions going to the planning board?
No, these
No,
are
no.
suggestions that will be worked, and then if there is anything that comes out of it, it'll be worked with the planning board and Galen and everybody,
Yeah.
and then come back to the select board.
coming back.
It's coming
Oh,
back.
yeah.
Everything's coming back, yep.
John, anything else?
That's it, thank you.
None.
No? I have something. I want to talk a little bit about the pier parking, especially now that we're going to go ahead and have the pier being reconstructed starting on November 8th. And we're probably going to be losing, I'm guessing, almost 40 to 50% of our parking down there. And the pier is still very busy. I'd like to suggest that we see if the chief and Eric could look at the Stonehaven Hill on the right side going up to see if there might be some parking available there. What do you guys think about that?
Was there ever parking on that area?
There was, but that was quite a few years ago. It was probably 15, 20 years ago.
Has the
There was
road
parking.
changed in that area?
No, the road hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that, you know, it was, when they redid it, it's about 20 years ago, they put granite rocks on the side away from the road itself. So it goes in about 4 more feet from the path, where the path starts. There's a little path there
Yeah.
that comes down for the people to walk down through.
Yeah.
And then there's another 4 feet approximately going in. Isn't it 4 feet? Is that what they call
Off the pavement.
it? Off the pavement?
I didn't, I mean, the measurement changed. I think some places it was 4, some places it was 10. It depended on that section.
Okay.
Is that in the right of way though, or was that not?
I'm talking about within the right of way.
Within the right of way.
within the
so
right
if
of way.
It's in the right of way, that can be.
It's a
altered
40-foot
if it
right
needs
of
to.
way, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're in control of the parking, but I think that we need to have some professionals look at it.
Absolutely.
And I,
Because we're going to need to replace some of that parking.
Oh, my God.
Well-
Absolutely. The trucks and the amount of work that's gonna be
Yeah.
done in there, that's, and the fishermen are still fishing,
Right.
so,
It's
No, I-
going to go on for a year.
yeah.
Yeah.
you know, I think, Alan, I think you make a good point. You showed me down there how much space we're going to lose. We still have businesses operating down there, those fishermen and the 2 restaurants that might be open, or for part of this, need to have place for their employees and their customers. So I think having Chris and Eric take a look at it and find out where we could find some temporary parking or new parking for these folks while this is all going on. And maybe there are some other options down there that we could look at too, and have them come back and make some suggestions to us. But we have to, obviously, we have to look out for the people who work down there.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Could you ask Eric?
I think I could.
do you need a motion, or are we just asking?
No, you're directing me.
Okay.
Boy, that's a reversal.
So,
Doesn't happen long.
that's all, that's all I have. Do you have anything?
Oh, I got a few things.
Okay.
One is that the Maine Municipal Convention is coming up on October 2nd and October 3rd. So as part of the Maine Municipal Convention, they request that you name your voting delegate for their business meeting, and I'm happy to serve as your voting delegate. as I'll be there for that meeting, if you're good with that.
I'm good.
Second.
With that.
Moved.
So good.
I nominate you.
So you're going to sign this paper then?
Oh.
Okay. And I want to also remind people, we have our town hall building committee workshop next Thursday night at 6 o'clock here. And so the town hall building committee has been hard at work, and so this is an opportunity for them and their select person liaisons to go to the public and tell them about where they are to date. Also want to let you know that Nicole and I have been working hard with our financial advisor on the bond sale for the village parcel bond. So as you remember, we had a 5-year balloon payment. So we had a 5-year bond with a balloon payment. The balloon payment is up October 1st of this year, and our plan was to refinance that for another 15 years. So we have put together the official statement with Joe Katera of Moores and Cabot. We had our rating agency calls with Moody's and Standard & Poor. So we got our Moody's rating today, and we maintained our AA1, which I'll tell you was quite a process to go through this, and they ask a lot of financial questions. They are particularly happy with our fund balance and our liquidity, as well as our capital investment, and so there's a lot of financial focus on it. We could not go higher with Moody's than that rating just because of our size. So Standard & Poor's will be giving us their rating tomorrow, but that was, I think that both calls went well. They asked a lot of detailed questions. But hopefully we'll be all set. This sale will actually take place on October 1st.
Okay.
Excellent.
So, also, I just want to let you know that, John didn't mention it, but we finalized, thanks to the scientific extraordinaire on your
Oh, the
board.
FEMA.
You could, I can't imagine how much we would have paid a consultant to do the work he did. He has put together a proposal and gone to the state agencies to get permitting in order to do the dune restoration work on the east arc of the beach. We reached out to about 24 property owners along the beach, and together we were able to get 100% of the people to sign off.
Oh, great.
Excellent.
And so that information was forwarded to FEMA, not to FEMA, to DEP earlier this week for a permit by rule. And we looked at the report that he has prepared for FEMA with his very scientific analysis and formulas I did not recognize from my days taking math classes. Jay said, "I'm not so good at algebra." I said, "I think this is calculus." So, quite a report, and we are going to be submitting that to FEMA, and we'll let you know what their decision is.
Excellent. Good job, John.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Round of applause for John.
Okay. Approve the September 12th, 2024 Treasurer's Warrant.
So moved.
Second.
The first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Move
And
to adjourn.
I have
Second.
a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I hear a second. All in favor? Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Thank you.
everyone.